Hello and welcome to my channel where I do video guides for ON1 Photo Raw 2019. Today we are gonna do a HDR edit. I have mixed feelings about HDR, but I do bracket a lot and I do actually edit HDRs as well, but sometimes I just do too much to them and they end up looking terrible. But anyway, we are going to try and edit one today. It's a basic sunset, and as you can see, the sunset is already pretty yellow on this image. And when we add all of the dynamic that is in this HDR files, we are going to end up with a even more yellow sun probably. So it's actually gonna look kind of unrealistic. It already does in a way because it's so intense colors. If I were to just add a little bit of vibrance or change the color temp, it would look completely unrealistic. But we will try and do a realistic HDR edit, so we are not going for those crazy edits that you can see on Instagram and stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with those edits, I just want to do something different. So that's what we are going to try now. I've selected the bracketed files that I'm going to edit. So I'm right clicking on those selected files and I choose create HDR. So it's a pretty nice sunset actually. And we have a lot of colors in this sunset. It's really crazy actually. I really do like it. It's all about trying to keep it realistic though. I'm kind of not liking the toning it did automatically. I'm actually gonna go for no changes on the sliders. Let me change them instead here, I think. Being that it's a sunset, I can't go too bright, so we need to keep it a little bit down on the darker side. Yeah, it's gonna... The initial toning usually takes me a little while, so just trying to find the right kind of color grade or basic color grade, the basic tonality. So already now I feel like I'm in trouble here because it's starting to get so yellow over there. So I actually need to desaturate most of the yellows and the orange, I think, to get a pretty realistic result. I need to do something like that. Something like this maybe. Yeah, but I must say it's already kind of interesting to me actually, because we have so many color variations and we have so many nuances going on here. So maybe there's something to get from this after all. I just don't know what yet. Let's jump into the effects and we're gonna have a look here. I'm actually gonna check the camera profiles. Yeah, that's unusable. But how about neutral, standard, and neutral? I guess neutral gives the most realistic look. Let's go for standard. Let's go into the effects. I'm just gonna disable lens correction for now. That's so I can get some more power from the computer, because lens correction tends to strain the computer just a little bit. I'm gonna go into color adjustment and I'm just gonna try and go down on the saturation on those yellows and orange. Maybe go up a little bit on the brightness. Same on the orange. Yeah, that looks radioactive. No, that doesn't look good at all. So yeah, we could try to push the orange more over to the yellow. So, or the other way, push it over to the orange and maybe go up. I'm just gonna enable clipping view. You can do that by keyboard combination Alt or Option plus J. I think we might be able to recover this and get something nice out of it in the end. So let's see here. Let's just go into the aqua and try and lower the brightness. There are some aqua over here, I guess. Push it to the blue and a bit of saturation. Same with the blues. Maybe go down, but not too much. Then I think it's gonna be too strong. So what I like to do when I do color grading is that I don't try to break the colors that are there. For example, I don't push the blues really strong when it's not as strong from the camera, because the main colors here right now is in the spectrum between yellow and magenta. So yeah, it would be strange to try and push the blues really crazy like something like this. Then you see it starts to break the range and you end up with something different. I feel that I'm not able to explain what I mean here, but yeah, within the color range we are working now, I want to try and stay there. That's the way I like to do it. Let's go up on the saturation there, and same on the magenta, and let's check the red. Okay, so there are some red in this part of the sky, maybe over here as well. Around there. Okay, so that's the basic color grade. We can try and drop a glow filter, so we get that kind of almost a little bit blurry look. So it's a really soft and nice effect, but it's a bit too heavy. Yeah, I don't think I like it. Actually, just let go down on the opacity. Let's check with a sunshine filter. Sometimes sunshine filter works really well. So disabling the glow filter. Yeah, I think I'm gonna use this filter, for it brightens the scene up, and that's really nice because then I don't have to do it with a gradient or something. And there's a lot of blues, and when you change the blues too much or any primary color, there's gonna be color noise. So yeah, I think it's fine. I don't know if I should push the contrast or not. So just ignore what's happening in the foreground. I'm gonna fix that later. Yeah, I don't think I should push it too much. Let's add some vibrance and just drop the exposure just a little bit to around there. And I'm gonna set the white point. So I'm gonna go up on the white, yeah, and it's clipping almost right away. So okay, so next thing is trying to brighten up this foreground and do some structure there. So I'm thinking maybe I should do that with a gradient actually. But I'm thinking, should I do it with the local? Yeah, let's do it with a local. So I'm just gonna go up here and find a gradient and just drop it around here. And of course it ended up the wrong way, so I'm just gonna invert it. So something like that. Let's do lighten. That's too much. Let's back down. I'm gonna do it with the shadows instead. And I'm gonna have some blacks and some contrast and up the shadows. Add some structure. Yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna tilt this gradient, and then I'm gonna push the O key on my keyboard. And right now I have the red overlay activated, but if you go to mask in the menu and you go to view mode, you can change to grayscale if you want to. If you change to grayscale mode and you're working with luminosity masks, it can be a bit easier to see what you are doing than if you use the red overlay. But the red overlay is really excellent for this kind of type of work that we are doing now. So I'm actually going to try and just fade a little bit on here, so I can actually brighten up that as well. And my focal points, you see the leading lines that are going straight out here, and then you see that diving board, and the diving board are pointing almost directly at the sun. So that was my idea when I did the composition, but I wish that the diving board was maybe bigger or something. It's kind of hard to see. If I share this on, let's say, Instagram, nobody's gonna see that little diving board. Okay, so we have added some structure and brightened up the foreground just a little bit. Let's do some more. Yeah, it kind of looks good actually. Kind of happy about that. We can add just a little bit of vibrance. Maybe get some more orange popping right there. And yeah, we have the contrast already. Let's do just a little bit more saturation there. That's actually nice. Okay, so let's go back into effects. We have the sunshine, we have the color adjustment. So usually I name it something color grade or color toning. Then I know that that's the global toning. And if I want to do something more specific, I will name it that specific thing. Let's see what dynamic contrast will do here. It's a bit too heavy, maybe. Just ignore the foreground. Just a little bit. And I'm actually going to use a new gradient on that one. And I'm going to drop that around here, I think. And let's invert that. Yeah, that's nice. So yeah, that's just a little drama to the sky. I usually never use dynamic contrast on the sky. I tend to want to have a really soft sky, but I think it works, kind of works in this case. And I think I need to desaturate the sun even more, so I'm gonna add another color adjustment. And I'm gonna brush it in. So I'm just gonna add a big dot around there, so yeah, something like this. Let's just do something here so it's changing. And let's invert the mask. So this should desaturate it. Let's check the before and after. So that's before, and this is after. It's not as heavy. It's the golden sun I really don't like. I usually like to push it more over to the orange side, so I think we are actually gonna do that. Try that. Just see, yeah. And just brighten it up just a little bit. Same on the yellows, maybe. That didn't do anything. That's okay. Sweet. So let's hide that. This as well. So even though I'm not done yet, I'm gonna drop a vignette. Then I'm gonna be able to see what kind of framing I will go for. I'm gonna take down the feather to 0. If I do that, I can see the size of the vignette and where it is and stuff like that. So thinking there's light coming over here, there's some light in the water there, but not too much light on this side, so I think I'm gonna pull the vignette more to the right side actually. Just gonna increase the size even more to around there maybe. And then I'm gonna go down to the square with the little dot, and I'm just gonna pull it down to the right side. I think actually I'm gonna pull it down ever so slightly and go up in the brightness around, something like that. It's still a bit too heavy. Just gonna increase the size even more here. Something like this maybe. Let's check. So there are some vignette there. I think maybe it's still a bit too heavy, so let's go down on the opacity. And let's check the before and after here. So this is what we started with. This is the import from the HDR module, and this is where we are at right now. And it's pretty obvious. This is too much popness or whatever I want to call it. So I'm actually gonna go down on the saturation. And this is the hard part of doing edits like this, because you want to make you want to make the sunset into something dramatic. You want the viewer to feel what you felt when you were there. And it was really a nice sunset. It was actually quite incredible. And the color toning, or the colors that were there, were crazy. It was totally unrealistic actually. And you could see that on the first picture with no changes in the exposure value, that it was already full of colors. I'm just gonna push the contrast, and I'm gonna ignore the middle ground and everything else. Just gonna check the sunset. So yeah, that's it. That's what's missing. So let's go into that. Let's add another local adjustment. Let's push the contrast and drop another gradient. So yeah, that's contrast. It looks kind of nice. And hit O to get the mask. And let's have a bit of a bigger feather here. So because it's brighter down with where the sun is, let's hide the mask and check the before and after. Yeah, that's a lot better. We didn't change the tones too much. That's nice, I like that. Now we are gonna drop a tone enhancer, and I'm gonna try the compression slider just to see if we can balance out the tones here. Nah, it's not doing anything I like actually. Let's Let's enable a clipping view again. I'm actually gonna go and check if we can actually bring up the color temp now that we desaturated most of the sun there. And by the way, I know there's a lot of dust spots in the frame here, but you just need to try and ignore those. Okay, I think we kind of have something going here. I'm just gonna drop it down after all, maybe to around there, and I'm actually gonna check with the vibrance instead. Whoops. So the vibrance is also good to warm things up. The foreground is a bit too bright. It's not matching the overall exposure. I think we are going to go in and change the vignette again. I think maybe I actually want it to be a bit darker. Yeah. So basically now, the last thing that I feel that I need to do now is the dodge and burn. That's basically brightening up what's bright and darkening what's dark. You want to try and create as much contrast you can between the bright and dark. That's kind of the idea behind dodge and burn. In this case, I would maybe create some light on here, and I would go into the brighter areas and just with a brush I can show just a little bit what I would do. So let's go in, let's call this, let's do a dodge layer. That's a bit too heavy. Let's and the opacity you can either set to what you think you're gonna paint in, or leave it at 100 and go down on the opacity on the slider here. But you might want different intensity on your dodging. So if you want to use this slider, you can't really get the different intensity on the dodging. So in that case, it's better to use the opacity up here. So I think I'm actually gonna do that. So I'm gonna drop that down to around 20. And let's start at 15 just to make sure. And here you can see there's some bright parts. I want to brighten this up. So just one stroke. Let's do another stroke. Okay, so it's obvious that this brush isn't doing much, so we can go to around 20, 25. And let's widen the brush and go in like this. Over here as well. Just gonna paint in where it's light reflections over here. I'm not gonna touch that. It's, or maybe let's try. Yeah, it's okay. Just gonna do some over there. Let's do it like this. I'm just gonna brighten certain parts of the middle ground. So just going into the areas where there's some reflections and brighten up that part so it makes it more interesting. Especially eyes like this that has that color toning from the sky. It's kind of interesting, kind of cool. And when it comes to dodge and burn, you just have to find your own style. Some like to dodge and burn with brushes that are a bit too soft for my taste, too flat. So for me, dodge and burn is making things pop, You might not be able to see that, but there are actually some details even in the blacks over here. That's kind of surprising. I didn't expect there would be. Anyway, did I say it? I don't know. Find your own way to express yourself with dodge and burning. I guess it's kind of a feeling that you get. Of course, you need to keep it realistic. Don't brighten parts where the sun isn't even shining, or there are no other light source. My brush was a bit too small for that area. When the brush is really small, you end up with the hard edges even though you have a feather. I don't think I'm gonna do anything there that would make it look totally crazy. Then you have the pink parts up in the sky here, so we can brighten that if we want to. I feel I need to desaturate that sun even more. It's too crazy, it's too yellow. So let's go down and down. Yeah, that helps a lot. That's a lot better. Okay, so final thing now I think is to do the burn layer. I forgot about the burn layer. I got distracted by the sun there. So let's go into the local and add the burn layer. Let's call this burn. Can go down to around 25, but I'm also gonna go up on the shadows because I'm going to go down on the blacks. So this creates just a little bit of contrast. Let's go up on the opacity to around 30, and I'm just gonna go over, yeah, let's say this crack, and I'm gonna see how dark it turns out to be. Yeah, that's okay. So then I go in and just darken whatever the sun is not hitting or whatever is dark from before. So, and I like to do so in the foreground. I like to have some pop in the foreground, so because in my opinion, if you do have a foreground, it shouldn't be too boring. A really boring foreground, of course, yeah, there's something there, but you should maybe try and have some leading lines into the midground and then to the reward, or whatever you're gonna call the background. I call it reward. So this dodge and burn is something I would use probably a couple of hours doing. So the final tweaks of the picture, for me it's taking a really long time. I'm still not satisfied with that sun. I can't help it. It feels totally wrong. I need to move it over to the orange. That's why. That's too much, of course. I think maybe something like that. Yeah, definitely. That feels a lot better. Now, okay, so we've done some dodging and we've done some burning. What is left? I'm really not too happy with the middle area here, and maybe not too happy about this area as well. So I'm actually gonna go and add some structure, I think, maybe on the foreground. I think I'm gonna up the structure on the dodge and the burn, and I'm gonna paint in some more structure. So on rocks like this, I like to use structure. I prefer that over dynamic contrast or sharpening filter. It makes the texture kind of pop more. Yeah, maybe put the opacity to 100. Let's do that instead. Let's just go over here really quickly. And I actually think I need some more contrast as well. So let's just go up a little bit on the shadows and up the contrast, up some more on the shadows. It's a bit too much on the structure actually. And the same on the contrast, it's a bit too much there. And I'm gonna paint in some structure on the midground as well. Okay, so let's go back into the effects and go and tweak the tone enhancer. Try and make all the colors go together. So I'm gonna try the compression slider again. Let's go up a bit. Let's go to around there. Let's go down on the exposure. That's it. Okay, so the thing is, now I've been sitting working on this image for a while. I'm so in my head, it's just these colors, that's all I can see, and I've been seeing those colors for so long that they are kind of, yeah, I've lost the ability to see how strong those colors are. So in this case right now, these colors might be so incredibly wrong for this image, but I can't see it. I can see that there's a bit too much of that yellow sun still, but it might be totally wrong everywhere else, but it's so hard to see when you're sitting so long working on an image. So the only thing you can do is either you work on a kind of a different image, or you just take a walk somewhere and come back later. And that's my approach to editing these pictures. And 99% of the time I get back to the computer, I find that the image is over processed, something totally crazy. It looks totally wrong. So I need a break now. Of course I need to fix the dust spots and straighten the horizon. I can see it's a bit too unleveled. Okay, so you can see I'm done with the image. It's nothing spectacular, but I think it turned out okay actually. I couldn't decide if I wanted to go for kind of a brighter sunset or a darker one, so I think I maybe went for something in the middle between dark and bright, so kind of works. It's a bit too saturated still, but after all it's a sunset, and some sunsets are really colorful, and this one was, so it feels okay. Yeah, I went for a 16:9 crop, so I wanted to kind of line up everything after a rule of thirds, so it worked out. It was a nice crop actually. So I'm okay with this image. I wouldn't say I'm really happy, but at least I'm okay. So this was this edit. If you like this video, please click on that like button. If you want to buy ON1 Photo Raw 2019, you can do so by clicking the link in the description. You will get 10% off when you check out. And if you want to see more videos from me, please hit that subscribe button. For the next following weeks, it's gonna be both ON1 Photo Raw 2019, and I'm actually also going into Luminar 3 and Aurora HDR, so it's gonna be a few videos from both image processors, so just stay tuned and you'll find out what kind of videos that will pop up on my little channel. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you again. Goodbye.